The day began with calm skies over the floating citadel of Lirvan. The structure drifted above a sea of silver clouds, its towers rising like pillars of crystal. The Empress of the Lyrae people, a figure known simply as Riona, stood on the high balcony of her throne hall. Her long cloak shimmered as she watched the horizon. The air carried a soft hum from the anti-gravity engines, keeping the citadel aloft. It was supposed to be a peaceful day, marked by a diplomatic visit from the human delegation. Instead, something none of them expected had arrived first. Riona stood with her advisors when the alarms echoed across the great hall. A deep red glow filled the crystal pillars. She froze at the sound. It was a warning she had never heard in her reign. Her guards reacted at once, forming lines around her, but even they showed hints of fear. The Lyrae were brilliant engineers, yet they were not a warrior species. They believed their treaties and advanced shields would keep danger far from their borders. That belief shattered the moment a shadow eclipsed the sky. A massive vessel descended. It belonged to the Karak Raiders, a force known across sectors for burning worlds. The ship's cannons charged. A single blast tore through the citadel's outer shields. Crystal towers cracked. Light dimmed. Sections of the floating structure began to fall toward the clouds below. Panic spread through the hall. Riona's guards shouted for evacuation. She tried to stay composed, but she could feel the tremor in her hands. The Lyrae were not ready for a battle. The raiders knew it. As debris rained down, a group of humans attempted to reach the hall. Among them was one soldier named Leon. He had arrived only days earlier to help build relations between Earth and the Lyrae. He had seen conflict before and carried himself with a calm strength many humans developed through hardship. His mission had been diplomatic, but training shaped the way he read danger. When he saw the raider ship roar into the atmosphere, he reacted without hesitation. While the Lyrae fled toward safety, he ran toward the throne hall. The raiders breached the citadel. Waves of armored figures stormed the corridors. They carried heavy blasters and shock pikes. Their footsteps thundered like falling rocks. The Lyrae guards tried to stop them, but their courage cracked under the weight of the assault. One by one they faltered. One by one they turned and ran. Even the commanders who were sworn to protect the Empress hesitated. Fear overpowered loyalty. Riona watched her protectors flee. Her heart pounded. She stood alone in the center of her collapsing hall. Glass pillars shattered. Ceilings splintered. A tremor ran through the floor. The raiders advanced. Their leader pointed at her and barked an order. She knew she should run, but her body refused. The throne of her ancestors stood behind her, gleaming even in the chaos. She did not want to abandon it, yet she could not fight for it either. Just as the raiders lifted their weapons, Leon burst through the side doors. His uniform was scorched from earlier blasts, and dust covered his shoulder plates, but his stride was steady. When he saw Riona standing defenseless before the invaders, something fierce ignited inside him. He did not see an alien ruler or a stranger from a distant star. He saw a person about to be struck down, while those sworn to defend her fled. He rushed forward and placed himself between her and the raiders. Riona stared at his back, stunned. He was only one soldier, a visitor from a distant world, yet he faced the approaching warriors without fear. He lifted his shield plate and braced for the attack. The raiders fired their blasters. Flames and energy bolts struck his armor. The sound shook the hall. He staggered, but did not fall. He forced himself to take each impact, protecting the Empress with every breath. When the raiders paused to recharge their weapons, Leon turned to Riona for a moment. His voice remained calm. She needed to move. He guided her toward a fallen pillar that provided some cover. She still trembled. Her voice broke as she tried to ask why he had come. He told her it was because she needed help and no one else was standing firm. She felt something shift inside her. She had never seen such unyielding resolve from anyone, not even her own elite guards. The raiders advanced again. Leon positioned himself at the front. He scanned the hall for tactical advantage. The structure was damaged, but fragments of crystal battlements still hung above the raiders. He aimed his sidearm and fired at the weakened supports. A section collapsed, sending heavy shards crashing down on the invaders. It slowed their charge. Still, more raiders pushed through. Their leader roared. They wanted the Empress alive, not the Citadel. They would not relent. Leon grabbed a fallen guard's shield and held it with his own. With both in hand, he created a barrier. He crouched slightly to cover Riona. She could feel the heat of the blasts reflecting off the metal. She could hear his breath grow heavy each time an impact pushed him back. Even so, he refused to move aside. Every action he took spoke of a will that did not bend. The floor cracked again. The entire citadel tilted. Support engines were failing. Leon realized they could not remain in the hall. He pulled Riona up and urged her toward a lower passage that led to the emergency hangar. The raiders chased them, breaking through debris with brute strength. Leon guided Riona through collapsing corridors. He used his body to shield her from falling beams and sharp shards. His arms bled from cuts, but he ignored the pain. Riona wanted to speak, wanted to ask why he risked so much, but she could not form words. They reached a narrow transit bridge that led across the open air to the hangar tower. Wind roared through the fractured structure. Sparks flew from broken generators. Light flickered in the storm clouds below. The bridge swayed under the tremors. Leon tested its strength. Parts were unstable, but it was their only path. He stepped onto the bridge, first to check if it would hold. Riona followed carefully. The raiders appeared at the far end of the hall behind them. Their footsteps pounded on the cracked floor. They aimed their weapons. Leon pulled Riona close and leaned into the wind. Blasts struck the bridge. Metal beams tore loose. One raider fired a heavy impact projectile that shattered the midsection. The bridge broke in two. Leon grabbed Riona before she fell. They crashed onto the remaining half. The raiders stopped firing when they realized they might drop her into the clouds. Leon helped Riona up. They reached the hangar doors, but they were jammed from the earlier impact. Leon used all his strength to force them open halfway. Riona slipped in first. He followed just as a raider reached for his arm. He slammed the control panel with his elbow, causing the door to drop. The metal crushed the raider's hand and forced the group back. Inside the hangar, only one small craft remained intact. Riona recognized it as an older model transport. Its engine core flickered. Leon checked its controls. The ship could fly long enough to escape, but only if someone kept power stable manually. The station shook harder. Riona asked if he could fly it while she tried to patch the power. Leon shook his head. The raiders were already cutting through the hangar door. They did not have time for both tasks. He told her she was the one who had to pilot the craft. She looked shocked. She had flown only ceremonial flights before. Leon stepped close and placed a guiding hand on the controls. He explained quickly what she needed to do. She wanted him to come with her, but he already knew the truth. Someone had to stay behind to delay the raiders long enough for the craft to launch. When she realized his plan, her voice cracked. She refused to abandon him. He gave her a steady look. He reminded her that she carried the lives of her people with her. If she fell, everything would collapse. He was only one soldier, but she was an empress. She had a future to carry. His words struck deep. She felt tears warm her eyes. She reached toward him as if wanting to stop him, but he moved toward the door. The raiders broke through. Leon drew his weapon and took cover behind a fallen engine coil. He fired precise shots, forcing the raiders to take cover. Riona seated herself at the controls. Her hands shook, but she followed the steps he had shown her. Engines activated with unstable sparks. The craft lifted slightly. Leon shouted for her to go. She hesitated for a heartbeat and pulled the throttle. The craft burst through the damaged roof. Wind engulfed it. The skies opened around her. As she rose into the air, she turned once and saw the hangar burning behind her. She could faintly see Leon still holding his position, fighting even as the raiders closed in. The citadel groaned. The engines finally died. The entire structure began to fall toward the sea of clouds. Riona steered the craft away. She watched the citadel sink into the storm until it vanished from view. Her voice shook as she whispered her thanks to the soldier who stayed behind. She did not know if he heard it in the chaos. She did not know if he survived the fall. All she knew was that he had saved her when no one else had dared. Hours later, her craft landed at a Lyrae outpost. Her officers rushed to her side. They were astonished that she had flown alone. They asked where her guards were and how she escaped. She told them everything. She spoke of the moment the guards fled and the moment a single human stood in front of her and risked everything to protect her. Her voice steadied as she described his courage. The Lyrae searched for Leon. They scanned the clouds for debris. They sent drones into the storm. The storm lasted through the night. By morning, fragments of the citadel rose slowly to the surface of the Silver Sea.